Have you tried trading by yourself and the results weren't, well, as you expected them to be? Have you wondered if maybe an AI trading bot can help? And if so, how you could create one? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore in this series. Today, we're kicking off an exciting journey, building a cryptocurrency trading bot from scratch using the Alpaca Markets API, machine learning, Python and Jupyter Notebook, and we'll be using Google's Gemini as our AI assistant. Now, we want to use machine learning for our bot, because we know it's great for a lot of things. And as you might have seen in my previous tutorials or on my website, there are various machine learning algorithms we could potentially use, ranging from supervised and unsupervised learning to semi-supervised and reinforcement learning techniques. Choosing the absolute best approach right away can be a deep dive in itself. So, to get us started, for now, we'll keep it simple. We'll start by asking Gemini to help us create an AI trading bot using a general prompt, and see what it proposes. Alright, let's ask Gemini for help. I would like to create a trading bot. It should be using machine learning to trade BTC USD in 1-minute intervals and Alpaca markets. Can you help me with that? We could also note that Alpaca uses different symbols for executing orders and checking portfolio positions for Bitcoin, like we had to in the past. However, it seems like the latest AI models already know about this, so we might not need to go into as much detail. We can check what the model thinks about our prompt as it generates the answer, or we can skip ahead and just wait for the full response to appear. I like how Gemini started its response. It seems quite responsible, if I may say so, and it's something like I usually say as well. So, remember, before we write a single line of code, the super important disclaimer: this series is for educational purposes only. I am not a financial advisor. Trading cryptocurrencies, especially on short timeframes like 1 minute, is extremely risky and you can lose a lot of money. The bot we're building is a starting point. It's not guaranteed to be profitable. Always start with paper trading on Alpaca and stay there for a long time. Do not risk real money until you are absolutely confident and have thoroughly backtested and paper traded your strategy. This project is about learning Python, APIs, and machine learning concepts in the context of trading. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get started. After the initial warning about trading and using its model, we get an overview of some core components of the process and the program we'll be building. It's good to know what we'll be working on upfront. So kudos for that, Gemini. So, we'll be using Alpaca Markets here, specifically their paper trading account, which is perfect for testing and doesn't involve real money. We'll also need the keys to our account to interact with the API. To get them, simply sign up, log in, and navigate to your paper trading dashboard. Look for your API key ID and secret key. These are like your username and password for the API, so keep them secure. But don't worry, if you ever lose them, or expose them in a tutorial or elsewhere, you can always regenerate them. I've already got mine. I recommend storing them as environment variables for security, rather than hard-coding them directly into your script, but it's up to you. Alright, now Gemini wants us to set up our Python environment. I'm using a virtual environment to keep my project dependencies organized, so I'll be installing everything in that environment. And I also recommend you working like this. So we need to install the necessary Python libraries. Gemini suggests using Alpaca Trade API for interacting with Alpaca, so we'll install that. However, there's a newer library, Alpaca API, that Alpaca now recommends. We've used it in previous tutorials, and maybe we'll get to use it later here as well, we'll see. Gemini also wants us to install Pandas and NumPy for handling the data, Scikit-learn and XGBoost for machine learning, and Pandas-TA for technical analysis. And it looks like we already know which algorithm Gemini wants to use for this trading bot. XGBoost. Cool. So, after we install all of that, we'll be ready to go to the next step. And the next step is to set up the API credentials. Gemini recommends using environment variables for security. So, let's copy the code, paste it into our notebook, and see what we've got. As you can see, at first we import all the necessary libraries, and then we set up our keys. You can copy and paste your keys from where you've stored them, or directly from the Alpaca website if you've just created them. Once that's done, we can check what comes next in the program. Here, we use the keys to connect to Alpaca using the Trade API. If everything is set up correctly, we should see the message, connected to Alpaca paper trading. If we wanted, we could also check the account using the hashed out part of the code. But we won't be doing that right now. And it works. Great. So, Gemini did a good job. And we now have our Python environment set up for creating our trading bot. Now, it's time to move on to the next critical step, fetching the historical data our bot will learn from. As before, we copy and paste what Gemini prepared for us. But, as I'm looking at this code for fetching data, there's one very peculiar thing to pay attention to. See this here? Trade API, timeframe, minute. This phrase is actually in Bengali. If I say it right, a language spoken primarily in Bangladesh and parts of India, it correctly translates to timeframe and minute in English. But I wonder why it is in here. I've worked with a lot of AI-generated code, and I've never seen anything like this from Gemini or any other AI. they almost always stick to standard English keywords and library conventions. It's not a hallucination, because the translation is accurate, which makes it even more interesting. Have you ever encountered something like this in AI-generated code? Let me know in the comments. And the big question is, will this actually work in Python? What do you think? Well, you'll have to tune in for part 2 to see what happens. Or, hey, feel free to copy the code from my website and test it out on your own before then. In the upcoming parts, we'll dive deeper into actually fetching that data, creating powerful features for machine learning, and then training our very first machine learning model for trading. For now, if you found this first step helpful and want to follow along on this bot building adventure, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. The code we looked at today will be available on my website. You'll find the link in the description. And please, do let me know your thoughts or any questions in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully, I'll see you in part 2. And remember, improve yourself, improve your business, improve the world, but also, super important, live and have fun. Yours, Super AI.